Dodge County District Attorney dropped charges against one of the former workers at the Waupun Correctional Institution arrested last summer. As we've reported, former Warden Randall Hepp and several other former employees were charged in connection with 2 deaths at that prison. One of the deaths was ruled a homicide due to malnutrition and dehydration. The other inmate was found dead in his cell 12 hours after he had passed from a stroke. Jeremy Chalker no longer faces any charge in connection with those prisoner deaths. The order in motion for dismissal filed this week says that Chalker met with investigators and told them he was instructed by his supervisors at the prison to fill out the round sheets, and he was just simply following the chain of command.